What's up, everybody? It is your friend Damien Howard here with another week for us to focus on what I love. You all see it there with my title, Adult Social and Emotional Learning. So often we get in these spaces whereby we are gleaning SEL tidbits and points in order for us to give that information to our kids, namely SEL, something I got to get so I can give. But with this particular work and in our village, what we are raising up is we as adults in the lives of the kids want to embrace social and emotional learning practices for our own benefit, right? And as we cultivate our own character, we see ourselves and position ourselves in a place whereby we are even furthermore enabled to cultivate the character of our young people. Listen, we've been saying all school year that now more than ever before, social and emotional learning is needed so much in our schools. I'm getting messages, I'm getting text messages and private messages stating that, Damien, we want you to come and talk to our staff. We are at a burnout point. We are at a point whereby, things are so haywire. And I really, truly believe that if we're making this investment into our own character, into ourselves, like we're talking about in this space individually, and then if we're making that investment collectively as a community, you're going to see impact in your environments. I'm loving this. Check this out. We got guests who are coming into this space. I don't even have to tell you all today. You just came in and you're engaging and you are typing messages already. And we see people raising up social and emotional learning. Yeah, you're in the place to be. Adult SEL. I am your adult SEL coach, the premier adult SEL coach. And we are in the place to be today. I love it. I love it. It's all about life, not just academic success, but life success. You all, it is always a privilege and honor of mine when I get a chance to connect with our guest today. We have Dr. Elondra Napper, all right, with us, and she is about to come into this piece and let it do what it do. I always butcher that. Just shake your head. Is it Napper, or should I be saying, okay, I'll be getting Napper and Naper all mixed up all over the place. But my sis she knows I love her. You understand? It's all love. It's all love. Come on. Is this program available for Catholic schools? Absolutely. Come on, message me. We are trying to do this work. I believe y'all, SEL has the power to bring transformation to our school systems where we have brokenness. So much that I write up on this, even in my PDF, talking about transform schools. Whoever it is that asks that question, make sure you message me right now. Let's get conversation going. So with that, Dr. Napper.
Hey, Damien.
You are in the place to be on this Tuesday evening. How are you, my sister?
I am doing okay, doing well, talking about what I love too. I love this.
Absolutely. Yeah, so, as I shared before, letting you into this place, come on, we got so many guests as they're coming in, they're shouting out, they're saying hello. Man, it's just such a palpable energy that's in this place already. When you and I connect, come on, the people might not know this, but we know this.
Yes.
It's just off the chain every single time. So with that, you and I had a conversation last week, private message style, and we were talking about cultivating the academic mind. I know that you and a conglomerate of other school and education leaders, thought leaders, you all just penned a new book. You have resources that you're going to share with us today. And as I was talking to you about that book that you're going to remind us of and talk to us a little bit about today, I was just really kind of exploring with you, Doc, when we get together Tuesday, what from that book can we talk about? And when you started talking about cultivating the academic mind, it reminded me of what I say all the time, cultivating the character of ourselves so that we can cultivate the character of our kids. And I'm just like, okay, how do we position this and how do we have this conversation whereby it can be effective and helpful for parents and educators as well? You got some thoughts that you want to share with the community, Doc? I'm gonna get off of this screen. I just want you to go ahead, jump in there and talk to the people.
Thank you, Damien. Thank you so much for having me on tonight. My team members, we're going to reschedule, so that we'll all be up here together as a team because we worked as a team. So I'm just going to mention the book briefly, but I just can't wait until all of the scholars and the ladies come on and talk about it. The book is called Foundational Reading Skills, and the book is written to and for teachers and educators and parents. And this book is a book that we eventually we want to see it in universities, that are pre-service teachers and counselors and anyone going to school to get reading endorsements will be able to use this book. But we also put in information that is for parents as well. And so I'm just going to leave it at that because I want to make sure that when we do have all of us on, that people know that it's out there. They can go to Amazon, type in foundational reading skills, and they can purchase it. There's an ebook and paperback book, and I can't wait for all of us to get back on so we can really talk about what the other educators wrote, because they are so awesome the way that they explain each one of their chapters that I can't do that justice like they would. So, but it's out there. I want you to get that with Champions Parent Village. I know that we are trying to gather and share as many resources as we can to help our parents and our teachers. So please go to Amazon, put in that foundational reading skills search, and the book will come up. Our lead author and leader, awesome woman, Chanel Lee. So when you see Chanel Lee, then you will be looking at the right book. So from there, tonight I wanted to share with you a journal and planner that I created, and I just want to see where Damien, you want me to just go in and start talking about it a little bit, or
that's fine. Definitely get in there and talk to the people about the journal and planner. It's just such a fascinating resource that I think could be helpful for our community. And then certainly we want you to touch on that cultivation of the academic mindset and mentality.
So the journal and planner go together with our topic for tonight, cultivating the academic mindset. So if you could, Damien, if you could bring up the cover of one of the journals, and I want you to see what it looks like.
If you could just keep talking,
Okay.
I'll it as soon as I can.
Okay. So, how this vision came to be was I was researching and looking at what is really out there that that children can use to help cultivate not only the academic mindset, like for example, organization skills, documenting when assignments are due and when things are due, things like that. But more importantly, in addition to that, I wanted to create something in which the children were going on a journey through social, emotional, and academic learning. So in this planner slash journal, yes, and it talks about or has activities for the students to set goals, to journal, to explore, to even draw, to write down their schedules, when are things due, and things like that. But along with that, there are activities on who are you? Who are you? Your identity. I was in a workshop or a PD one time, and the speaker did an activity with one of the participants, and the question was, "Who are you?" And the person said, "Well, I'm a teacher." And then the speaker said, "But who are you?" And then the person said, "Well, I'm a father." But what happened, and what was so powerful, But also telling was, at the further away the person got from their job or their profession, the less they were able to say who they are. And as I was listening to that, I was like, wow, how often are we asked the question, what do you do? Who are you? How often are you asked that? But you are often asked, well, what do you do for a living and things like that. And so it made me think about how our identities are so intertwined with our professional, our job, our career, and those types of things. And it kind of made me think about, well, if someone asked me that question, how would I answer it? And I used to answer it the same way. But don't we know, or don't you know, that we're more than our vocation? And more than our profession. We're more than that. And so, how do we dial back so that when our children that we're working with become adults can say who they are without hesitation? That they can boldly stand and say who they are, their talents, their gifts, because God put us here and we're spirit first. But we didn't come out being teachers. Our gifting may be teaching, but that's not essentially who we are. It's a part of. But my question has always been, so what if one day you were not able to be a teacher anymore, or a lawyer anymore, or a doctor anymore? Would that change your identity? Would you lose yourself because of the shift or change, or what would happen if you could not do that profession anymore? And honestly, I was in that position. I was in that position and faced with that. And I because I have a chronic illness, and I've been up here before and talked about it, but I know I'm going to be healed. But whenever I had to leave that profession, or leave that particular job, I was like, well, who am I? What am I going to do now, right? Because I didn't or couldn't associate myself with my profession or vocation anymore, because I didn't do that anymore. It was just me. And so I had to dial back and be like, how I used to hear all the time, people said, I need to go somewhere and find myself. And I used to wonder, what are they going to go find? What did they lose? Until it happened to me. And now I really understand when someone says, I need to find myself, because we can get lost in everything that someone else may say about us, or even say to us, or behind our, I mean, anything. So we've got to tap into our inner self and find out who we are. And I see some people chiming in. I have done this exercise before. Isn't it powerful, though, that when you start to strip away those layers and really get to the core of who you are, how it changes your vibe? It changes how you interact with others. It changes how you think about yourself, because you're so much bigger than that job or that vocation. So when I wrote this journal, it made me think about that particular situation, not just in my life, but in someone else's, and where I've heard this before. And I said, wow, we need to get to our children, and for them to start identifying with who they are. So when they're our age, they're not struggling with, well, who am I? They're not struggling with that. They can boldly say who they are, and that we're also dealing with whatever trauma and emotions and things that have come into their life that have possibly distorted that identity before they ever had a chance to even talk about who they are. Because that's what social emotional learning is about as well, is because our children have experienced trauma, And that trauma, if it's not dealt with, gets rolled into your identity. And don't you know that it's not? But we've got to be there to tell them that. We have to be there to tell them that.
Hey, Doc, I want to
Yes.
really quickly because I will not be able to do a screen share based on just different stuff going on with StreamYard here. However,
Okay.
what I did do though is I took exactly what it was that you sent me and I shared that in our Champions Village. So
Okay.
every champion who is watching this live, and I continue to see our viewership go all the way up, and I appreciate that. You all can just go right back to our home screen. We definitely want you to stay plugged in here as well, and you will be able to see the covers of the journal that Doc is talking about right now. So, Doc, that's been amazing. I just love how you have such an ability to make sure that you are covering, right, the journals, but at the same time making sure that we're coming back to that SEL,
That's right.
back to that piece of making sure that us as adults are in the place that we need to be in, right? Cultivating
Right.
our own character so we're better positioned to cultivate the character of our kids. If there's anything else that you wanted to say, because I know I just jumped in there because I definitely wanted to make sure that I told you where those graphics are, but I'm just excited to get to this cultivating the academic mindset. If we're not quite ready for that, if there's some other things you want to share, please do that, and then we'll tee it up for that mindset piece.
Well, I just wanted to add to the fact that the first partaker of any of this has to be us first. So, the quote about physician heal thyself. So it goes back to, as I was saying before, where we've got to examine ourselves, our emotions, our biases, our traumas, whatever it may be. Now, it doesn't mean that you're totally, we're always a work in progress, but as we move through different levels, we've got to work through those issues with us too at the same time. And I can honestly say, when the experience happened to me, I'll never forget. A mentor of mine said, sometimes you have to come to grips with the fact that you have a chink in your armor. Have a chink in your armor. And when she said that to me, I was like, I never looked at it like that. But if what we have in our heart comes out, so out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, and our energy speaks. So we've always got to be the first partaker of this, so that we can flow out of a space of love. And so I think that's about it as far as that is concerned. But the journals that I created are for, I have one for boys and one for girls. So the activities are some are the same and some of them are different. And also one for parents. And so in each one of those journals, we are cultivating the academic mindset from the children's perspective, but also how parents can support cultivating that mindset. So we could talk about that further, but I just want to go into the next part, Damien, how to get rolling on that topic, and I'll elaborate a little bit more about the parent journal as we get into the conversation. Unless you want me to get into it now, I'll be glad to.
Yeah, Doc, go ahead and get into it, please, please.
Okay. So I'm going to use the parent journal as an example. So one thing that I put in the parent journal, and this was something that I always would talk to my parents about when I was a teacher and an administrator, was, do you know what your children should be learning? What should your children know and be able to do at the end of a particular grade? So in this parent journal, I have put in a list of what children should be able to know and do at the end of I think I've gone from kindergarten, eighth grade, and I'm going to do a high school one later, but in a different style. And I think that's important because parents automatically trust teachers. in schools. It's just something that's automatically given. And so, as I started working in administration, but also as a teacher, as a coach, and as a consultant, I would ask questions, and oftentimes they really didn't know. It's like, well, I didn't know. And I'm like, so how do we, as parents, support our children academically if we really don't know what it is that they should be able learn and be able to do in that grade? And then if they know, then they'll be able to ask the right questions. And when they're having conversations with teachers, it's not just them sitting there being a receiver of the information, but it's a dialogue, because now they're able to ask specific questions that relate to that particular subject or assessment or whatever it may be. So I want parents to be more, those that aren't, I want you to have more knowledge. Those that are, I want you to have more than what you have, because I'm going to tell you this, and then I know I'm going to probably get some people thinking. When the parents stopped coming to the schools, that's when they let the SROs come into the schools. I'm going to say that again. When the parents stopped coming and keeping up what was going on in the schools, that's when the SROs were put in place. And for those of you that it may be called different things in different places, but an SRO is a student resource officer, a person that works for the police department who is assigned to schools. So on the when school's not in, they are a police officer. They're a police officer in the school, and then in the summertime they go back and they patrol and do community policing. So basically, policing in your school. So when we talk about the school to prison pipeline, then when that's what happens. So when some parents, not all, because I'm not trying to offend anybody, but like I said, we put trust in schools. But you better question what's going on. You better question what's going on, because the school to prison pipeline, it used to be a child go to school, and I'm not saying it's right, they got in a fight, they were suspended. Now a child can go to school, get in a fight, and not only do they get suspended, they get an assault charge. So we've got to be that village that cultivates. I still go back to the social emotional learning that cultivates their character, because Martin Luther King said about what? Character plus education. You got to have both. You got to have both. And so I don't know about you, Damien, but COVID-19 has revealed some things and pulled the cover off of a lot of things that those of us that are in education know where that was going on and what's happening. Don't know if everybody was listening, but now this social emotional learning piece was put in the reauthorization of No Child Left Behind. Now it's Every Child Succeeds Act, right? And they put that in there because, first of all, you don't have to legislate a heart or a mind. You shouldn't have to, but I guess you do, because that's why they had to put it in writing that you need to deal with the emotions and social piece of adults and children. We are social creatures first. That's why what we're going through now with the quarantine and 6 feet apart is so hard for us, because God made us social. We need each other. We need each other. And so learning within itself, cultivating that academic mindset, it said, is a social process. Learning is a social process. So before this may be corny, but before you can book them, you gotta hook them. Before you bloom, you gotta Maslow. You know, if you do not get to that first, that heart, you can forget everything else. You can pour in knowledge, but if you don't get to the heart and the soul of a child, a person, then children don't learn from people they don't like. They don't. But you've got to first understand who they are. It goes back to that identity piece, right? And once you know that, you know them, their personality, you know what they are interested in, then you can cultivate that. What I find fascinating, and y'all Google me, Japanese culture spends the first 2 or 3 years of a child's academic career teaching only character. I'm going to say that again. They don't teach math, science, self studies. They don't get into subject matter until they teach character. So, I'm going to use our school system, for example, the way that our system is set up. So, let's say, that from the time a child enters kindergarten to second grade, they're still learning to read and all of that, but they're teaching them about character. That's what they do the first 2 years, 2 or 3 years. How powerful is that? That they spend the time working on that identity piece, that social emotional piece, all these things that we're talking about. Because if you have that, you can do anything. And if you look at what's out there now about what our children and our should know and be able to do, they're not saying they're looking for the top mathematician or the top scientist, which we need that. But if you don't have the character, it doesn't matter how much you know. If you don't have your emotions in check, it doesn't matter how much that you know. Because they're looking for people who can work with other people, that can collaborate, that are creative, and that is who they're looking for on top of the skill. I think you're muted.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I got to jump in there right now because in this space, we take opportunity to really raise up a lot of the stuff that we talk about in school spaces here so that, to your point, we can make sure that the adults in the lives of the kids are on the same page and that they understand what this stuff is all about.
Yes.
Oftentimes in education, we use all of these jargons, like all of this grandiose nomenclature. Like, what the heck are y'all talking
You're saying, yeah.
And sometimes even us as teachers, it's there, but we ain't gonna raise our hand in the PD because I don't want to be that one. But at the end of the day, it's just like we gotta break this stuff down in M&M, bite-sized, melt in your hand, not in your melt in your mouth, not in your hand, delectable pieces that are, tangible, that are delectable. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
And that's what you're talking about right now. I love how you talked about earlier is character plus education. Education is social. And as we're talking about all of these things, the reason I had to jump in there, Doc, and thank you as my friend that you afford me those opportunities to do that. Because I want to call out the fact that somebody watching now may have thought that it might be a bit too late for me, right? That yes, I can help my kids to get this head start by really focusing on character for them. But I want to talk to that person that might not have that growth mindset, that might feel like they're fixed in whatever social and emotional state that they're in, that they still can't do that character work for themselves so that they can transform into the best version of their being. Everything that Doc is saying right now is not just applicable for the sake of our young people cultivating an education mindset. And hear that the education mindset also means the social emotional mindset.
That's right.
It's also applicable for us as adults as well. So just thank you for everything you're raising up right now. This is powerful stuff. Doc, we got a few more minutes. I want to make sure that you have opportunity to cover everything that you've wanted to cover in this space. So let me get back off of the screen and let you get into it.
Okay. So just to kind of, wrap everything up in a nice bow, I hope that this time of shifting and changing, that we reimagine education, and that I often say, don't let schooling get in the way of your education. I have been reading and I get feedback from parents and teachers and just reading research and just different things where people think, oh, because the children may be learning in online or virtual, or some are back in the building and half of the time, and they have this hybrid model. Listen, children learn from every place and everywhere. The schoolhouse is just one place. It's not the only place. And so, we've got to first examine ourselves and think about how we can shift, because if the children aren't learning the way we are teaching them, then we need to learn how to teach them the way they learn. And as parents, please, 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 you've got to hold these schools accountable. You got to. When I was a principal, my motto used to be this: in God we trust, everybody else bring their data. In God we trust, everybody else bring your data. So don't go and give somebody your wholesale trust. You better ask questions. Hold people accountable, because when you don't, what I said earlier, when we left the village, the SRO came in, and that needs to stop. So we've got a bunch of geniuses who were sitting behind jail cells because somebody didn't do that. And what a waste! I mean, what can they do in there? They could have been out here. Are they just regenerating it right there in those prisons? Our kids don't belong in prisons and cages. They belong on Wall Street. They belong as entrepreneurs. They belong wherever their talents and gifts are supposed to take them. And it's not in a box. We've got to help them. So do not do that. If anything, ask questions, ask questions. I don't care what their attitude is. You do it, because this is life or death. We affect generations with education. Generations are affected by what somebody has done in their family, and then it spiraled on. You can be the person to break that. That child could be the person to break something in your family. And so, in God we trust. Everybody else bring your data. I'm going to leave it on that, Damien, because I can keep going on and on and on about it. But yeah, that's it.
Hey, for all of you all who are watching in, I want 100% participation if you can. Maybe you're not in a place to do this. I want everybody to type in life or death.
Yeah.
Life or death. Come on, can y'all type that? I just need to see that. I need to see that sprinkling into the comments right now. Life or death. If you're in a place to do it, type life or death. I often talk in this space, Doc, about the fact that what we're talking about here has the ability to transform urban education.
Yes.
Period. Right?
Yes.
That we cultivate our character to grow as people who are getting great fulfillment out of our own lives, who are able to bring the cure that broken cultures in school needs. All of this happens based on us investing in character. And then thirdly, the type of people, right, who really tap into the innovation that we've been endowed with. That is the factor and force, the power that's going to bring change, necessary change, and transformation to our schools, right? Legislation, all of those things are important. Who's in office, all of those things are important.
Yes.
But some real boots on the ground, you and I rolling up our sleeves and engaging in this work and showing up, that has the ability to bring life where death is pervasive right now.
Yeah. Yes.
Love so much, Doc, how you even brought in the reality of that life or death piece, because I think oftentimes people chime in into these conversations that we're having here and be like, oh, okay, that's nice. They're doing a good thing. They're talking good. No, it ain't just talking good. It's so much deeper than that. It's so much more expansive than that. This life or death of a community of individuals that we're talking about here. So I just really appreciate that, Doc. I had to say that with some passion because that's how it was on my heart. Very curious, especially with me raising that piece up. If there's anything else that you want to say, we want to provide that time before I do take a quick commercial break with our village here.
Okay, just real quick about equity. Now all of a sudden, racial justice, social justice, and racial equity has been pushed to the forefront because of these awful, unfortunate events that have happened this year, even prior to that, that have affected our children. And that's when I mean life or death. I really mean that. My grandmother, we were sharecroppers before that, was slavery. And my grandmother said that I will not have my children picked up on the back of a truck to go work in a field. They will go to college. And because she spoke that life or death is also in the power of your tongue. And because she spoke that, all of my aunts, uncles, and mother was able to go to school. And I am the only I'm the third or fourth generation out from my grandparents who were slaves, that has a terminal degree. So we can speak life or death into our children. And when we do, and to ourselves, we don't need to give up on ourselves either. Just like Damien said, parents, we are always constant adults. We're always could be constant learners. Break that fixed mindset, break those limiting beliefs, because there's nothing too hard for anyone to do, and no matter what age you are. That's right. When the parents at the school, the popo came in. That's right, Cynthia. Well, so I'm gonna leave on that note. Don't give up on yourself. Switch those mindsets, and let's make these things, let's turn this thing around so we can start seeing our children thrive. And as they thrive, the community thrives, the state thrives, the nation thrives. And that's what it's all about.
Absolutely, Doc. You and I could pontificate on these points all night. Unfortunately, we don't have all night.
Yeah.
So with that, Doc, I just want to, as well as the community here, thank you for your presence, for your truth. We are trusting and believing with you in healing power, right? So we're sending good vibes and prayers your way, as you kind of called out earlier in this space. I want you to know that your village stands with you as it pertains to that. Yeah, Doc. I'm being a lot more flexible with just link sharing and stuff like that in the group, because I know that my coaching was don't share links, but I just want people to engage. I want this to be a space in the community where people know that they can share, especially stuff that's connected to our work, whatever it is. So Doc, I've already shared some of the book covers, but I want you to go back into that space, especially now that people have some context, and give more information about your journals.
Okay.
You are such a special person, and you add so much value to this community that I just want to make sure that people are able to tap in. We got so many viewers who are saying thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
The love is so real. Doc, you already know you and I have so much work we need to continue to do. At some point, I am going to write that book, so just keep staying on me about that, and we'll get it done.
Yeah.
Blessings, and thank you, Doc.
You're welcome, and thank you everybody for your feedback, your comments. I'm here for you.
Perfect. Peace out.
All
right, y'all. So here is the real brief commercial break, and I am still going to get into a quick micro lesson, more like just a shout out for parents and particularly teachers today. I've been asked to do this, like I said, in multiple spaces and by multiple people. And I said, we're better to do this than in my village with our champions. And I say mine, what I should have said there, in our village. So the fact of the matter is, you all, is I just literally slipped up on this reality that we have a lot of educators and parents who have high interest and intrigue in educational consultancy or going into schools with whatever it is that they have to offer. And then, being able to partner with those schools in their local areas. You all, that's work that I've been really obsessed about and doing for like the last at least 4 years. I've been exploring with different potential ways to kind of live into my truth in schools for over a decade, but particularly these last 4 years, been trying to say, could y'all pay me a little bit for what it is that I'm doing in these schools? So I don't have it all figured out, but I have figured out some things. And I'm super excited that a group of about 12 other folks are going to be joining me this weekend. And we're just going to be talking about, okay, if I'm a person who either wants to go and do some SEL work in schools, or if I want to go and do some other works and partner with schools, how does that happen? And we're going to just be masterminding and coming together and talking about that piece. If you are a person who hasn't been invited to that space, but it intrigues you to potentially be able to partner with schools, either as an educational consultant or in partnership with existing organizations to offer whatever it is you have to bring, talk to me, message me, okay? And just kind of let me know that that's intriguing to you. Some of the people who are right here in the stream, they're already partnering with me on different initiatives, either as champions within their school building, and they get a stipend for that. Y'all, I'm telling y'all, it's ways that we could be compensated for who it is that we are as we partner with schools. And let me say this, for my principals out there and for my teachers out there, this applies to you even more. You all, when I was working for the Board of Education here in Chicago, one of the things that held me up for so long was that I didn't want this conflict of interest thing being there. I want to go out and support the city with my SEL work, but I don't want that to mess up my money. Do you hear me? I've thought through that a lot, and I think that, we have some solutions to that as well. So like I said, message me if that is of interest to you. Either you desire to be an educational consultant or you want to kind of collaborate with me to do SEL work in your school and district. Come on, y'all, let's come together. Like I said, I already got 12, and I believe there are many more people, even right here in our village, who have that interest and would love to work with myself and a mastermind community for us to talk about educational consultancy. How can we get to a place whereby we are making additional income, even as, in some of you all's instances, even as we are working for a school and for a school district? That was my commercial. And I want to end with a word for educators and for parents. My phone, do you all hear me, has been blowing up with folks talking about turmoil that's happening in their school environment. I don't even want to say in their school building. You all know with COVID-19, a lot of people are doing e-learning, remote learning right now, but they're saying, Damien, for whatever reason, the culture and climate of our school building right now is on fire. Do you all hear me? When I talk about climate, that's something that's a sense of what you feel when you walk into a school building. When it's on fire, that means that there's chaos. Stuff is all over the place. You turn one corner, you about to get hit in the head with a book. You got to dodge. You got to get out of the way because it's going down. When it's real cold, it might not be a lot of behaviors that are going on, but there's just a coldness. There's a hardness in that place that doesn't make it very inviting. But when that thing is just right, do you understand? You walk into that school building and you feel that climate and you're just like, yeah, this is just right. This is the place to be. You understand? It's kind of like for me, when it's 70 degrees outside, sunny day, and it's either I can wear a jacket and be comfortable or I don't need the jacket. You can go either way. That's what I'm talking about when that school climate is right. So here's the thing, as I already stated, and even as I see interest peaking up as I'm talking about this right now, there is brokenness that is taking place in many of our school buildings. Why? Because people are being stretched, because people are being pressed and pushed in ways that we haven't been before as educators ever in the history of education. If you hear me with that point, right? This has never happened and transpired whereby a national pandemic has shifted us in a way whereby now we're doing this remote learning thing. So anytime you all where there's pressure, that pressure is going to bring a particular level of stress, and that stress, especially when that stress is experienced by multiple people within a community, that thing has the ability to make the culture very hard to really sit in and to be a part of. Now, this is when I celebrate and I raise up everything that we've been talking about in this group since day one. You all, maybe it's you. Maybe you have to be the person that implements and starts this in your school. Even parents, hear me. I'm talking to you as well. How can you be that champion of character development that helps people to understand that, yes, right now there's a lot of turmoil. Yes, right now, there's a lot of stuff that's going on in our environment, but as we invest in our mindset, when we start shifting our own habits, when we focus on a knowledge of who we are and live into that, we have an ability, hear this point, to even innovate, to find out realities about ourselves as educators, find out realities about ourselves as teachers that this experience affords us that we wouldn't have gotten without the trial, without the test, without COVID-19. Let me say that again. When there is calamity, when there is turmoil, when there is a pandemic, yes, it's a stressful reality. But what I'm saying is that this stress and this trial has the ability for you to learn how flexible and how agile you actually are. I'm speaking right now to educators. I'm speaking right now to parents, because you have so much innovation that is nestled in your reality that you don't even know. And what I'm asking, pleading, even begging for is for us to utilize this pandemic as an opportunity to tap in to the truest essence of who we are, to the superpower that is nestled once more inside of each person under the sound of my voice. Here's the reality. It's very hard to do that when you're the only person that's committed to consistently investing in your character so that you can bring about an innovation situation in your environment. But what I'm trusting is that if people consistently see you showing up as that person that's saying, nah, I'm not going to complain, I'm not going to cry a river based on all of this technology stuff that's going on, based on all of these issues. I was Zoom bombed by some kids that weren't even supposed to be in my classroom. I am going to shift. I am going to innovate, and then I'm going to raise this up for the community to say, yo, this could have been something that broke me, but I used it to build me up into a teacher who has heightened ability, right, to now do things with technology that I couldn't do last year because I taught this to myself. What am I telling you all? I'm telling you that as you invest in character, you have the ability to really find out truly who you are versus being broken by situations. You will be a person who's built by the hardest and roughest matters that life brings. Now, I understand you all, this has an ability to really be something that kind of comes off as overly simplistic. There's so much more conversation that needs to be had for people to truly tap into what it is that I'm saying right now. And that's the reason why I try to do my best to build communal spaces, right? So in the group, that's a space where you're supposed to go like, Damien, I heard you talking about this. What y'all think about this, right? But if we're not using the power of community to really further explore these topics and these concepts, we're not really getting the truest and the depth of value that potentially we can get out of this. I am at a point whereby I'm looking at my colleagues, I'm looking at my village, and I'm saying a lot of us are broken. I don't think a lot of us are seeing really there's an opportunity here, you all, for us to tap into innovation and build ourselves into or towards the best version of who we've been made to be. So I wanted to call that out, y'all. It's about being built in the midst of this pandemic versus living in and accepting being broken. So that's one thing that comes out of being able, or when we invest in character, that you can bring about an innovation situation that is, as you raise this up, you can be an exemplar for all of the other complainers, all of the other naysayers, all of the other people who are contributing to climates and cultures that are very hostile right now. It's a lot of hostility that's going on. I want us to break that up. We need champions. We need exemplars to bring about an innovation situation. What I talk about as well in our stuff is that when you invest in character, here we go, we can get fulfillments for the fam. Fulfillment for the fam. A lot of people embrace and they sit in a place of brokenness and accept that, because once more, it's that kind of fixed mindset that says, woe is me. This is all I'll be able to achieve. This is all I'm going to get out of my pedagogy, out of my teaching ability, out of life. And I'm saying, man, no, come on. Don't ever accept that. Let me say this to the community. You all, I have invested almost $20,000 during COVID-19 in my own education. I've invested almost $20,000 in mentors to teach me a couple of things. So one of the things I invested in was I wanted some mentorship to build out this community so that I could just share my voice with people. Like, how do you do that? And how do you do that more excellently? I have mentors who are teaching me that And maybe y'all might want to give some feedback like, dang, they need to do that better. I don't know, whatever y'all are feeling, just always, I love feedback. And then also, you all, I just invested yesterday some thousands of dollars in learning the stock market better, right? Because I will never take a situation, especially a situation that's built to break, and be at a point where I just accept it for what it is, especially if it's bringing some hurt, if it's bringing some pain, if it's bringing some trepidation and fear to my life. No, I'm always going to shift and say, how can I learn from this? And hear this part. How can I come out of this situation even better than I was before I went in? And sometimes that means that I need to make an investment into myself, a financial investment. And what I talk about here is a character investment. So we get an innovation situation, we get fulfillment for the fam. And then the third piece that often I speak of, you all, is that we have the ability to unearth and realize the culture cure, right? So a lot of us, once more, are in environments where the culture is absolutely broken, where it's rigid. I'm telling y'all, I'm pleading, I'm begging that we invest in these character development skills and traits, and we teach them to our administration. We teach them to our kids. We embrace them ourselves. And as we're doing more work in the area of the 5 core competencies that Castle raises up, self-awareness, self-management, relationship skills, responsibility, all of those, like when we're investing in these core competencies, I'm telling you all, we have the ability, do you hear me, to transition from a place of, dang, this COVID is beating us up, it's breaking us down, this culture is just so messed up. And we can get to a place like where Miss Principal Whitfield and her staff have been able to trek towards. She told us this last week. She said, yeah, it's rough, but she said, Damien, my team is going to come out of this stronger, more together, brighter than we ever were. Why? Because during this time, we're taking this as an opportunity to cure brokenness within our culture, not to make excuses for what isn't going right, but to use this opportunity in the worst situation that we've ever been in. To use that innovation that I spoke about, to use this fulfillment that we're finding, and to cure brokenness so that our school is better than it ever was before on the other end of the pandemic. That is what I want for the community. So I just wanted to share that out. I want us, through character development, to get to a place where we have the culture cure, where we're bringing a cure to the brokenness that's in our school and community cultures. Well, we find the innovation situation, because you are so much more innovative and entrepreneurial than you even know. When you invest in your character or self-knowledge of self, your habits, and your mental and emotional well-being and health, you will tap into the best version of you. I'm so excited for you. And then lastly, fulfillment for the fam. As we are more fulfilled, you start to get a peace. And when you get that peace, that you're just like, yo, I'm in the midst of a tornado, but I feel like I got stability. It's like you in the eye of that tornado. Everything around you is swirling, but you still calm. All of us have an ability to be in that place, regardless of what is swirling around us, when we make this type of investment that I talk about in this village and in this space all the time. I just wanted to share that up, y'all, because I know I keep getting these messages that stuff is burning up in schools. And what I'm saying is, it doesn't have to burn as ferociously as it is burning, because we have champions who are doing character investment work and who have the ability to bring innovation situation, culture cure, fulfillment for the fam, to bring about transformation, even in the midst of a pandemic. I got to say this as well, because my sister wanted me to say this in this space. Please go out and vote, you all. I'm not telling you who to vote for. I'm not telling you how to vote, but I think that is definitely a practice that we need to tap into. You all know me, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. It's just very important, and I don't have to convince this community of that. But I want you to couple your desire and your commitment to vote with the commitment for boots on the ground action and activity in your community, in your school, right? Because for me and how I'm wired, I'm an advocate. Let's go out and vote. But I believe really, and as far as what I've experienced in my life, when we again, roll up those sleeves and we get engaged right there in our local schools and our local communities, that's the thing that's going to bring about that sustainable impact and change that we want to see. Peace out, people. That's all I got to share for tonight. Y'all are my folks. It's all love. It's all peace. It's all good vibes. That's what we're talking about this month, y'all. It's good vibes only. It's your boy, your adult SEL coach, your premier adult SEL coach, Damien.